Get ready for Prophets and Ballers, where politics are a passion, sports are a living, and God is a given.
Hey! Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Welcome to Prophets and Ballers. Okay, for those who listen to us, thank you. We'll make it really simple for you. On our podcast, the format is really easy. We have something called the first pitch. Basically, the first pitch is the first topic that takes us all the way to the seventh inning stretch. And the seventh inning stretch is more of a chill out period where we can talk and cover just about anything. But relative to what we were talking about or what's going on, many times in the seventh inning stretch, we have the baller side of things where we talk sports picks. So we have it in a sports format. Top of the first pitch, seventh inning stretch, and then we go to the bottom of the ninth. And this is where we really try to drive home some of our points that we believe in passionately, and we close out the show with as much passion as possible. And our goal is to move you and inspire you. Now, that's the podcast format. Then we have these little mini podcasts, which we're doing right now, which we're striving to do on a daily basis. This is not a podcast. This is what we call speed chess, meaning we take a popular topic and hopefully in less than 10 minutes, 15 minutes max, we go for the checkmate. And please comment below if you think we checkmated the topic. Or if we didn't persuade you either way, tell us you saw it as a stalemate. And if we completely whiffed, simply tell us, hey, Prophets and Ballers or P&B, your king was captured. Folks, please bring the comments, subscribe, smash all the buttons that will help us move up the ladder. We love this country. As I've said before, me personally, I'm one of the guys on the podcast that's Muslim, but I've said it all along. I want Christian values to return to this country. Liberals always say to be on the right side of history, yada, yada, be on the right side of history, right side of history. Well, the longest lasting belief in human history is our belief in God. And liberals are trying to replace it. And unfortunately, recently, they have succeeded. They have removed God from society. And in today's speed chess, we're just saying passionately, the first step to American recovery is bringing God back into our society. And that's today's speed chess subject. America must bring back God. So in today's speed chess, we're going to try to checkmate our subject that the first thing in America that needs to come back is God. Remember, this country was founded on Christian beliefs. It gave us a conscience and a universal consciousness. With God, you have the divine law of reason, of understanding what normalcy is, the difference between right and wrong. Once upon a time, the 10 Commandments were seen everywhere. Today, you can't find the 10 Commandments anywhere in this country. You see, what God gives us is an unbreakable hope. Hope is wired within all human beings, even the atheists. Studies after studies have shown they too also turn to hope. They may not turn to God, but they turn to hope. In big governments, they want to break down the citizens' hope, the unshakable, unbreakable faith. That's why, if you look at throughout history, all the tyrannical leaders, from Hitler to Stalin to Mao, have all been atheists. They want to remove God from society. And when God is removed from society, you lose hope. And now your faith turns towards the government. The biggest threat to the elite globalists and liberal elites today is the very presence of God. But what they don't know is you simply cannot break down a large group of people who have an unbreakable belief in God. That's always been the right side of human history. The Bible is still here. The Torah is still here. The Old Testament, New Testament, the Quran. All the books of God are still here. Okay, let's do this. Again, the biggest threat to the elite globalists and liberal elites are God. Why is God such a threat to these liberals? Think about that. Why is God such a threat to these liberals? Well, God was a threat to Hitler. God was a threat to Stalin. God was a threat to Lenin. God was a threat to Mao. God is a threat to any tyrant. Any tyrannical figure will always despise God, because you cannot beat a large group of citizens that have unshakable faiths, unshakable and unbreakable hope. But for the liberals, removing God is also money, 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 along with other agendas they have. They have made global warming, which I believe in. Everybody believes in climate change. But they've made it, global warming, a religion. They want to replace Christianity with global warming. Think about it, guys. Tell me if you don't think global warming doesn't feel or sound like a crazy cult. It's gotten beyond ridiculous. I mean, how far are you going to take global warming? We believe in climate change. But the liberals are taking it so far where they're willing to break the back of the middle class. $6, $7, $8 oil will break the back of the middle class. And on top of that, raising taxes. All in the name of global warming and electric vehicles. I'm all about renewables. But you can't get from A to Z without all the other letters in between. There's a transition. Anything going from one thing that's been static forever, fossil fuel, to the next, to the future, requires a transition. What is wrong with using natural gas, the cleanest of all fossil fuels? What is wrong with using America's fossil fuels? You know, when Biden goes and asks for Saudi Arabia or Venezuela to produce more oil, it's no different than producing oil in America. Carbon emissions are carbon emissions into the planet. What's it matter if it's produced in Saudi Arabia or if it's produced in America? Carbon emissions is carbon emissions. That's why in order for us to cool the planet, every country, especially every leading nation, China, America, India, Iran, Russia, every one of these countries, all of them have to be on the same page to beat global warming. We can't sit here and be the leaders of global warming while China, Russia, and the rest of the world are laughing at us as they use coal, the dirtiest form of fossil fuels. So they're trying to weaken your faith through replacing God with another religion called global warming. When you weaken faith in a society, that society will indeed have more crime, more abortions, more wars. There's as many abortions in the Black community as there are births. Stop and think about that for a second. As many abortions in the Black community as there are births. Margaret Sanger, look her up. Look up eugenics. Okay, Planned Parenthood was actually created to erase Black America. The concept of abortions and Planned Parenthood was that Black America was a threat. Why should Black America only be at 12 to 13% of the population? The only reason they are is because of all the abortions. And guess who's backing this up and thinking for the Black people? The white liberals. Read what Malcolm X said about white liberals. At least the conservative tells you what his agenda is to your face. But the white liberals, and I'm paraphrasing, they basically dress themselves up in wolves' clothing, telling you exactly what you want to hear, and then boom, they get you. Without God, we have more wars. When you break down faith, they are trying to remove your wired humanity, your wired empathy, dignity, and sympathy. In other words, they want to normalize things that we're not wired to. Think about this. To normalize and to infiltrate their unnormal ideas and to shove it down your throat until you accept it. Such as the transgender movement and trying to infiltrate the children and create gender dysphoria, so on and so forth. They're trying to normalize that. Guess what? The weaker our belief in God, in our society, the easier it is for us to accept things such as, I forgot her name, I think it's Candy B or something, the WAP song. Hey, that's not a big deal. You know, it's really not a big deal. It's just an expression. She's a mother. She's just expressing herself. That's normal. Changing and cross-dressing and changing your sex and taking your 5-year-olds to drag shows. Come on, not a big deal. It's just an expression. No. That's just a weak belief in a higher being. That's an expression of where society is today, which is a lack of belief in a higher being, which has made our morals weaker. And the weaker our rationale becomes. And the weaker your rationale is, hence the weaker our democracy. Because those who vote with God in mind vote for the best of humanity and society. Those folks concerned with faith, right? The folks that are concerned with faith are faith-based Americans that are just trying to bring back normalcy. In other words, the faith-based voter, they're voting for common sense, not the normalization of, like I said, weaker morals, such as 5-year-old kids going to drag shows, etc. That's perverse. That's perverted. Nothing more, nothing less. The faith-based Americans want common sense back. When you have God in your life, when you truly have the humility and gratitude that an intelligent design chose you to experience the gift of life, that's when you become humble again. You were chosen from an intelligent design, you, to experience this gift of life. That should humble you. To have the American dignity and humanity in which you carry out the universal principles confirmed by reason. Reason. Isn't democracy about where rationale, reasons, rules the day? Going against God and universal principles is not rational. It's not reason. It's the world of materialism. In the world of materialism, we are worshiping things that are created versus worshiping the Creator. And look, these material worshipers, they begin to worship themselves with narcissism. And just look, they flood the world with selfies. Look at me, look at me. Think about it. Ask yourself why you're taking the selfie in the first place. Are you filled with envy and throwing back at someone else that your life is better than someone else's life? Are you in a world of envy? What is the purpose of your selfie? You see the path I'm going? It's the materialistic path. And it's the materialistic people that can have everything they want, but they won't find happiness. Because what bothers the materialistic narcissist most is how right Thomas Jefferson was. He never says happiness, as in static happiness. He says pursuit of happiness. Because happiness is not static. You find happiness for a period of time, then guess what? It leaves, and then you have to pursue it again, and again, and again, and again. The greatest trick the devil ever played was making you think this and that and XYZ will bring you happiness, or that the grass is greener on the other side. And yet all these zillionaires can't keep a marriage going, at least for the sake of their children. For their children, they won't do that. You see, without God, you don't even sacrifice for the greater good. In this case, as I said, your children. But without God consciousness or universal consciousness, whatever you want to call it, there's no empathy or remorse. As I said, and I've been saying it, even for children. Hence, why they haven't mind damaging the schools in the last few years and our kids and the mental health of our kids. So folks, the first step to a recovery in America is to bring back God, morals, dignity, and humanity matter. And for us to kneel to a higher being, which humbles us all. That we are all under one God, one nation. Stop the silliness that this universe came out of nothing in pure randomness. Meanwhile, no one can win a 3-digit random lottery, and yet this universe, with its perfect fine-tuning, was a result of randomness? Are you kidding me? Pure silliness. Folks, we see miracles all around us each and every day. Do not let their narcissistic egos break down your faith. They want to break down your hope. They want you to worship them, the government, which makes their fight against God. That's their fight. It's not against you, it's against God. And folks, it's been proven time after time after time, when you're on the wrong side of history, you're on the other side of God. Keep the faith. Doesn't matter what religion you are. Just know there's a higher being and a higher purpose than to buy the next big house or car. And that's today's speed chess.